All right, hard to pick a player of the game in a circumstance like this when you're losing to another lottery-bound team that's basically playing to get as high up in the draft as it possibly can, and particularly when you're doing it against a team that is managed by Joe Cronin. So this is one I think that the Heat would like to forget. I do want to mention one other thing here. They were all here, the entire front office. I saw all of them in the building. Riley was in his usual seat. Zoe was here. Andy Ellisberg, Nick Harrison, Mickey Harrison. So they got to witness this firsthand. And it just looks to me like a team that needs clarity at this point. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to start ripping off a bunch of wins. I don't think that they're positioned to do that. We'll see who they get back in a possible trade, but I just know that this is not workable. You'll have moments where they look, engaged, like we saw in this game Sunday against San Antonio, but sustaining it seems to be a whole nother thing. All right, let's we'll do this. We'll play the game. We'll talk a little bit more about Jimmy, and then we'll get into defending the house at the end of this.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you if you work in a hospital or a medical office. Get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
All right, Adel, give me something. You mentioned Duncan earlier. I thought a lot of this involved him tonight. Anything stick out from any of the young players, or are you going with Dunk?
I'm gonna go with Kel'el Ware. Everybody knows, how critical I've been of some of his motor stuff, but what I really liked was on a play in those third and fourth quarter doldrums where he took it to the rack hard off of a roll, missed it at the rim, but grabbed it with two hands and put it back and dunked it strong. And that's the kind of growth you want to see out of a player like that has those, concerns that they need to work on, that the coaching staff, Malik Allen, behind the scenes, all that work they've been putting in, it showed up in that part of his game, which is the attacking, going strong after, the rebound and slamming it home, which you really like to see. So that was my play of the night for me.
Mute.
Eric talked after the game, Greg, about how they need to get him more minutes, and he led the team in minutes tonight. He fans wanted to play more. He played 39 minutes tonight. 39 minutes. What is? I guess.
Apologies for some technical difficulties, but we're back now. With the play of the night, I think that it was a good call to bring up Ware and showing that kind of staying locked in a game where they, the deficit was not pretty, kind of looked like garbage time, and you see him continuing to get those reps and put in that work with the good habits. I think that that's a great call. We are obviously locked in on the Jimmy stuff here, so we haven't been concentrating as much on the game, but we are going to dive directly into our defending the house segment before we wrap it up here on this quick edition of 5 on the Floor post game.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Who defended the house? The Miami Heat didn't necessarily defend the house so well. This was a game where Portland shot almost 50%. I'm looking up here now by shooting percentages when when a opponent shoots 50% or better, the Heat are 3-10. They moved to 3-11 on the season. It's 49%. So I'm rounding up a little bit. It was just a rough night in that respect. Is there anybody that we should credit on defense, Adele? I think it's a tough game to give anybody a shout out, but anyone jump out to you?
So, like you said, it's a tough game to evaluate because there really wasn't a lot of defense played. You didn't see the Heat cultured charges get taken or anything like that. But Ware had 2 blocks. So Ware was going after blocks. And I bring that up because he may have been going after too many blocks. Yeah. And he left himself out of position and that back line of the defense out of position. And it let Ayton kind of feast because Ayton ended up with like 16 rebounds, 22 points. So I give him the defending the house, but also why we didn't defend the house was also partly because of his over aggressiveness, as well as the poor point of attack defense overall and effort by the guys in the second, third, and fourth quarter.
Again, I mean, you mentioned DeAndre Ayton's stat line. Like, nobody's defending the house if DeAndre Ayton is coming into the house and putting up those kind of numbers in 2025. But that's a conversation for another day. This has been obviously an episode where we focused a lot less on the game because this really is becoming more and more about Jimmy. And that's kind of the worst case scenario for this team right now. We thought that they had found something that they could go to and maybe that would transcend a little bit of the noise. And although I think that there's still some, there's legs to that, you know what I mean? There's stuff they can build on with these young players. I do think that ultimately they got to get this noise out of the way. So I'm looking forward to that, a resolution coming soon, hopefully. Adele, your final thoughts before we close out.
Yeah, my final thoughts are try to find things about the game that you enjoyed. Lean into the Ware, lean into the Pella stuff, the Jovic stuff, Jaime Jaquez. Enjoy the growth and development you're seeing at from those players in real time. I think a consolidation trade, not just with Jimmy, is going to take care of a lot of this stuff. I don't know if it's necessarily all going to happen. You know, Terry Rozier, if he's going to be moved or not, because you may have to attach an asset. But once players like that get out of the way, some of the growth you're going to see and the cohesion of that young unit and Tyler getting back in the mix, I think you're going to see a lot more connected, a lot more enthusiastic group playing for one another and not the focus being about one single player, which is currently Jimmy Butler.
Exactly. And that'll continue to be the focus of this show until we get the news of a trade. Hopefully we'll hear one soon so that we could start focusing again on the actual basketball on the court. Thank you to Adele. Thank you to Ethan who joined us, but had some technical difficulties. We appreciate everybody who tunes in. Shout out to all of our sponsors. But again, this is an unfortunate 116-107 Miami Heat loss. They fall to 521-21, about as average gets. We'll see what happens next. Thank you for joining us. Peace.